Hi everyone, this is Lauge Felix Black from ageoftruthtv. We're doing a little video for you here in beautiful nature in Denmark about the whole situation that we're in right now. And so, Lukas.
Hi everyone, I'm Lukas Alexander. We are in this amphitheater. It's beautiful. It's April 10th, 2020, and we are in the middle of this lockdown situation in Denmark. But the sun is bright, the nature is beautiful, and the colors are stronger. The smell is cleaner. Everything seems different at the moment. And wow, boy, it really is different. We are in the middle of this absolutely crazy situation, and I just think that if you can find some time to go out and enjoy nature, if you can do that, if it's possible for you where you are, then do it, because the world is amazing when you go outside. And right now we are in this is like summer. This amphitheater and the lake and everything, and we want to of course talk a little bit about what is happening at the moment, because freedom of speech is absolutely challenged, and we're talking about the CV, coronavirus, COVID-19. Is it real? Is it fake? A lot of people are really discussing that, and then there are all of the people out there who fear it, who are totally captured by fear because of governments and even royalty coming out telling people that they have to take responsibility. We have to do everything to isolate the virus, and now social distancing, where people are not allowed to be close to each other, even loved ones. And what is going to happen to the world from now on? This can really change the world, and not for the better. Are we seeing the new world power structure finally being implemented just right in front of our eyes? And Lauge and I, we're just going to share a couple of ideas today because we can't get to the studio. So right now we're just going to talk a little bit about that, and Lauge has been studying this also, and we have guests lined up soon on our show. But for now, we're just going to do this little video to say hi to everybody. And we just want to tell all of you that you are strong, you are amazing, and don't forget that, because that's the most important thing you can take from all of this. Don't forget it, because this is war on consciousness. This will go into and really affect people's, not only their consciousness, but their mind, their mood. We could see a lot of depressed people, a lot of people who are suddenly out of a job, no money, no possibilities, almost like we're heading towards a third world situation here in the middle of the very capitalistic Western world. So let's talk a little bit about what is actually happening at the moment.
So I found a paper yesterday with 102 different silver bullet points, which is showing that this is maybe a plandemic instead of a pandemic. It goes around the whole subject in different ways and looking at different perspectives, like legally and also medically and scientifically and politically, and all the different ways and perspectives that you can look at this and prove what is really going on here. And is the claims that they are coming with, the official narrative, is that proven right? Because if that's problematic, and if that's not proven to be true, then there's really no reason for doing a lockdown. So that's very important. And one thing I can mention is that like the scare scenario that they always refer to is the Italy and Spain situation, where they look at the cases and they see, they didn't lock down in time, so it spread all over the country, and especially in North Italy. I don't know why it doesn't affect in South Italy, and you could go on with that. So that's just one question, but they say the different numbers, but it's 80 to 99% of all the cases with the coronavirus is from, and the death related to that, was elderly people who had, or at least people who had underlying health conditions. And then you say, but they should test it and they should see, okay, did they die of that or didn't they die of that? Didn't they die of something else, but they had the coronavirus? And that's how they are inflating the numbers, basically. So the test is...
Some of them had, deadly diseases already.
Exactly, they had...
And they were over 70, 80, 90, some of them.
Most of them, many of them were, yes, exactly. And again, you can look at a normal flu season. I've spoken with doctors also who's talking about they don't know why healthy people, even young people, can die of a normal flu. That is happening. But that's not reported usually. And you could really investigate into that and see how often does that really happen in a normal flu season. So basically, what this paper says is there's so many different opinions about what is right and what is wrong, but this paper has links to all the sources of the claims, which is usually from official sources, which is very interesting. And that's what I'm going to go into now. The CDC has even claimed on their own website that they are not only writing that the reason for the death with coronavirus is due to the coronavirus, even though they have tested it and it was positive, even though the test is 8% wrong, even if it's presumed or it's viewed as it might be the patient had coronavirus, they're just putting that down as a cause of death. It's complete bollocks. I mean, how can you even look at that seriously? And they are saying it as a medical professional. But that just shows that the pyramid structure is very real and the hierarchy is very real indeed. And whenever they are told, even the nurses is just doing their job, following orders from their doctors. And the doctors is just following orders from their supreme leaders in the hospitals. And eventually you can go up on this pyramid structure, eventually up to the CDC. And when you are doing that, even the normal doctors in normal daily life, they're just having, a need to have a paycheck and if they're speaking out, that's the problem. If they're speaking out, they might, even get sued in America, but at least lose their job. So many people are not doing that, just doing their order.
Many hospital personnel and nurses, possibly doctors as well, I don't know, they've been sent on holiday also in Denmark.
Exactly, and that's very interesting. So the excuse is, now they canceled all the waiting list, the patients on the waiting list for operations and for diagnosis and stuff like that for cancer and heart disease and long-term, usually lifestyle conditions and normal kind of very ordinary diseases, which you get into the hospital for. They are canceling that because they are afraid that if they're in the hospital treating that ordinary disease that we see every day, they might get infected with the
People
CV.
can't get operations, they can't get treated.
No, because they say they can get infected with the CV, and then they might die of that. So that's the excuse. Now the hospitals are empty because there's no person there, people who's getting treated, and the personnel is sent on holiday because we don't need it and we don't want to also protect them to not get them infected. And then you have the story, especially for America, we have seen where it's long queues with people who is trying, going up for being tested and also being treated. But when people have went out with their own cameras and looked at the same hospital, so you can recognize the locations, the day after it was reported in the news, it's totally empty. Now that's a big question. Why is that? So I also think that this is going to be the deaths from, now they're going to wait and they're going to treat the cancer patients and the cases that they had before the coronavirus later. But now all the ambulances is responding to calls where people are calling because they are almost dying of those diseases. And then they are going there and they probably are even dead already in their homes, because usually when they go to the hospitals, the recovery rate isn't really high. They're dying there, now they're just dying in the homes. And now even without treatment, some of them might have been rescued.
There is this term coronavirus, but how are they testing for COVID-19 in particular? You've been also researching a bit about what is this virus, and we've been seeing reports from John Rappaport, who's been studying and talking about what he calls fake epidemics for over 30 years. And then David Icke recently, just the other day, also said it was a fake epidemic. If it is fake, if it's not real, but they're doing it to implement the New World Order on the people. UN Agenda 21, UN Agenda 2030, depopulation, totalitarian power, New World Order plan. If that is what is going on, that's what we're seeing in the world right now. The finances crumbling, lots of people being thrown out of business, big business, small business, everybody is just being wiped out at the moment. And of course, the banking system, what we will probably see is the big financial crash like in 1929 or something that eventually led up to the Second World War. Is this in fact the Third World War in a different form? Or what will we see in the future? But if it is not a fake epidemic, if it is real, not just coronavirus, but this COVID-19, how can we find the real proof? Have we seen the real proof that this COVID-19 exists? And can we trust what's coming out and what we're being told? What do you think? You've been also, you've been researching it a lot, Lauge.
Yeah, I have a few comments on that. Well, first of all, I just want to say that, it's been very established now that we have a microbiome. And that, when you look at that, the most microbes in our body, the bacteria, is actually, 10, 20 times more of our body than our human cells. And even more than that, it's like, I think it's a lot more bacteria than human cells. And now they're also discovering, which is before all this, that we have a human virome. Basically, billions and billions of viruses on and inside our body. Which, if you come from a more holistic point of view, this totally makes sense. And this whole germ theory, which has been prevailing the whole medical community, and basically this is the base of the medical community, which I'm not saying is completely wrong, but it has paved the way for medicine which can be made in a lab and synthesized and be sold, patented and sold. Billions of dollars. That's basically the baseline of their whole foundation. And now they come out with a scare. Every time something is like the SARS and MRSA and, everything is being blamed on a virus like this one. And it's an invisible enemy. So if you look at the psychology, it's really, really geniusly done, because nobody can see it, and you can really put people into fear from each other. Now they don't even they fear of gather together. So if we have billions of viruses in our body, don't you think that the CV virus would also be there, doing the normal job in helping the body survive with the immune system and every biological function? Probably yes. So they come out with a PubMed study that have now been through the start in China, and now this is the story, the beginning in China, and where they recognized people with these symptoms. They were trying to isolate different part of the virus and say, oh, this is a new part of a new virus that we haven't discovered before. And that led up to the study came out in February, that they can now show the whole genetic sequence of this virus. So every time David Icke, anybody else says there is no virus, there is no specific virus which is going around and infecting people and killing them, or at least making them sick, even though they say 80% doesn't have any symptoms, or at least mild symptoms, that raises a big question whether this paper is either fake or based on wrong science. Like the premise that viruses can infect people, infect the cells and do stuff, even though it's a dead thing. And the interesting thing here, I think, is that virologists, that and you could say, what is the credit? What is this guy's? How can we trust this guy? And how can you trust what I say? And here is virologists and doctors who has been trained totally in the medical schools in a normal way. and done that for a long period of years and even practiced and stuff like that, they are even coming out and saying this is all wrong. And the minimum thing they say is that they are and they say this is total out of proportion to lock down the whole country, and especially not, it's definitely not the best way to cope with the new so-called virus situation. And they are risking their whole professional career, losing their medical license and being ridiculed in the community and maybe not being able to work if they are saying those things. So I guess they had really, at least they got balls to say it, but also they got research to back it up. And they are only backing up research that have been tested probably, which they're educated to do. That's a very interesting thing to look at. And of course the test has also been looked at in the same way. Even the inventor of the so-called polymerase chain reaction PCR test that they're using basically for extracting the DNA or amplifying the DNA in this situation to see if there is this so-called genetic sequence that they're testing for in this new CV virus.
So they've seen the virus.
They say they've
found the COVID-19 virus.
That's what they say.
That particular
and
one.
they can show it to you.
And they can isolate it.
Yes. They have isolated it if they have sequenced the DNA and they have taken a picture of it in an electron microscope. So you could talk about proof in this situation and say, so David Icke is wrong because you see it's right there. But I think we should question that as well.
But that's the official narrative also.
Is actually backing it.
So of course freedom of speech, it's totally challenged at the moment. We who are working on alternative media platforms like Age of Truth here, but also like any alternative media platform, we are challenged because we are speaking out against things, we're questioning things, we're asking critical questions to what is actually going on. But we've never seen anything like what is happening right now here in April 2020, March 2020. This was when the whole world locked down. And when freedom of speech was really challenged the other day by banning and taking down the David Icke interview, what was the big question they didn't want him to ask? Was it because he said it was a fake virus? David Icke has said so many things over the years. So what is the big question? Could that be related to 5G, electromagnetic radiation and frequencies? Could that trigger the virus or the body? Perhaps not even the virus, if there's no particular virus, or if we have so many different viruses in our bodies. And we have a lot of different cells, bacteria, well, everything. The whole body is a vibrating organism. And if electromagnetic radiation can trigger that, we've seen what has happened with 4G, 3G, and 2G. You can check that out. There are so many different reports on that, the dangers and health effects of electromagnetic radiation and frequencies. 5G is different. 5G is on a different frequency band. And you can really research a lot about 5G. Is that what they don't want us to talk about? And freedom of speech, you being allowed to ask questions, you being allowed to have a debate with people who has researched this for so many years, to question things. What is humanity all about? It's about that. It's about being free. It's about being independent. It's about being a soul in a body for a certain time, if you can even believe that. And when you can't believe that, you know that you are free. And you know that you can change your own frequency. So what is happening to the collective consciousness at the moment? This is war on consciousness. This is mass mind control. This is different from anything else we've seen so far. But it's all been leading up to this point. And because humanity is waking up, so many people are waking up. They're seeing things in a different light. consciousness racing, waking up. It's time for a change. While a lot of people are still in the box, in the matrix, now calling out each other, yelling at each other, asking to stay home, stay the fuck home, they even say. What a lovely term. And they are asking, they're like playing policemen to each other. And it is a very, very unusual situation, like standing at a crossroad. Those who ask the questions, those who think they have the answers, and those who just follow the official narrative, what the government is saying, what the officially acclaimed doctors are saying, not all of the others who are also trying to tell people what it's really like, people who's been educated for years and years on the topic, simply asking the questions. And then we can go into Bill Gates. Now, one talking for years and years about forced mandatory vaccinations, always trying to push vaccines on people. Billions and billions of dollars that they put into this. And this is part of the New World Order structure. And what we are also seeing here in Denmark is how they changed the laws. And they actually can force mandatory vaccines on the population. And we have to know our rights, to talk about natural law, think about how do we want to spend our lives? What is life all about? Is it freedom or is it slavery? And slavery in a different way than the old-fashioned way. It's about asking questions. And I have a question for you. What about the exosomes versus the viruses?
So exosomes is a very interesting thing. There's been a few studies on it, and a doctor named Andrew Kaufman is probably one of the most the forefront in this in exosome studies, and he has at least looked at it and seen what it looks like and how it's working. So exosomes is a medical established thing. It's a useful thing, which is small kind of vesicles which is inside the cells, and they are responsible for transporting things and garbage in and out of the cells. And what he looked at was, what is the comparison between so-called viruses that we know of and the established science on viruses and exosomes? And what he found through all the literature and the studies is that they are very, very similar. So he even goes to the extent and says that it probably exosomes and viruses are the same. And that is very interesting, especially also when you look at what they call the virome. So mixing all these things together, we are establishing a thing here that people should look into for themselves and see and question what is really a virus. Because if they're so similar to an exosome and they're a dead thing too, maybe this is the time to see if the viruses is not responsible, as I said before, for any disease at all. So then why they can say, but so you're denying that people is not getting sick? No, I'm not. But why are they getting sick? And the exosome studies have also shown that when you are in a state in your body, a diseased state, either from, it could be an infection from maybe viruses, whatever, but it could be also lung cancer, it could be other kinds of diseased state, the level of exosomes is higher. And what they say is probably the cause here is that the cells are reacting to a toxic environment. The exosomes is responsible for cleaning up the toxics, which is a risk to the cell. So they are maybe either being recognized as viruses, or at least they are they are also seen, and it's a disturbance to the tests for the PCR tests. That's what they're coming up with, which is very interesting. So when people are sick in either way, they will have a higher level of that. And when they are testing for this genetic sequence, which is also in these exosomes, then maybe what they're seeing is not viruses, but actually exosomes. So as Lukas was talking about before with the radiation, there's a very interesting book, like I would recommend people to look at, which is The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And he's looking at all the studies and the story events in the history which has happened when a new kind of technology in electromagnetic radiation has been set up all the way back from the Spanish flu. There's always been correlated with a pandemic kind of situation, which has often been, or all the time, been blamed on a virus. But look at this, also when you look at the map of where they have deployed the FIVEG, and they have the most cases of pandemic. It's very, very, the correlation is very strong. That's very interesting. So that could also be one of the cases. Basically, EMF toxic.
Mention a few things that people can study.
I would really recommend people to study the virome, the exosome ideas and studies, and I will go to Andrew Kaufman and Thomas Cowen. They are very, very interesting to look at and to start questioning more stuff and look into more stuff. And then I would say there's also this very interesting book called Virus Mania. You can find also for free, which is looking at the whole pandemics with the SARS and with the Ebola and Zika and all of that. And basically they're saying it's all made up and fake. That's very interesting. John Rappaport is also a very good source to look at. And of course look into the electromagnetic situation here and the maps that they show the deployment and where is the most cases of virus. That's very interesting. So that's just a few things to look at. Thank you so much for watching this little conversation here, and I hope you will have the time also to go and check out our other videos on the subject here. We had 2 major live shows, which you should definitely check out as well.
Thank you for watching from me here in this amphitheater, and do check out our website, ageoftruthtv, like our video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. We love your support so much. Thank you so much. And wow, I was wearing sunglasses the whole time. The sun is so sorry about that. It's just a little conversation between me and Lauge, and have a great day and stay safe and keep the spirit up. We need you. See you soon.